Typically, a camera made for vlogging is lighter, smaller, cheaper, and made to be held out in front of you. It should be quick to boot, easy to use, and deliver high-quality footage that you can't get from a phone. These are the two latest vlogging cameras from Canon and Sony. Sony's brand new ZV-1 Mark II and Canon's latest V10. Each of these cameras is attempting to cater to the creator community, but they both capture a story in a wildly different way, so who does it better? I'm Becca, welcome back to Full Frame. The first Sony ZV-1 is the company's best-selling ZV camera to date, which is why the Mark II is a big deal. It's a rare current Sony camera that does not have interchangeable lenses. That's fine for the set it and forget it folks who aren't going to change the lens anyway, but it does mean that down the line, when you start to get bored of this system, there's no upgrading the optics. In this iteration of the ZV-1, Sony did change that lens though. The Mark II has a wider 35mm equivalent 18 to 50mm f1.8 to 4 lens. You can record at 4K up to 30 frames per second or 1080p at 120 frames per second via the 20.1 megapixel 1-inch type CMOS sensor. Unlike Canon, Sony has trickled down specs from its more expensive cameras into this one. You get the new touch controls, cinematic vlog setting, and human and animal real-time eye autofocus that we saw in the ZV-E1. Plus the dummy-proof settings like the bokeh switch for defocusing the background, or the product showcase setting for focusing on an object being held out in front of your face. Okay, but what if my face is also in the frame? Nice! Not to mention, the ZV-1 Mark II continues to have better autofocus than the rest of the competition at this price point. And it has a built-in 3-stop ND filter. Ooh! Damn, that boots and gets rolling so fast. This camera comes in both black and white, but when I heard it was coming in all white, I knew I needed this model, especially when I heard that the windscreen was gonna be white. I mean, this is just the cutest little set of hair I've ever seen on a camera. Now, I was kind of concerned that the camera would get dirty, but in my 3 weeks of testing, it's really not showing all that much wear. Not anything that I couldn't, just wipe off. I did have to brush the windscreen though. That got a little gnarly. Although I primarily took video with this camera, the photos are crisp, clear, and when paired with the defocus button that opens the shutter to f1.8, they have a good amount of depth. Overall, the Sony ZV-1 Mark II feels like a modern, well-spec'd point-and-shoot camera that is under $1,000. And although there is very little to upgrade on this camera once you start to grow tired of the system, which you might, it has a lot of the same menu systems and settings of higher-end Sony cameras, so if an upgrade does happen, you're gonna feel very comfortable moving up to the higher-end systems. I mean, grabbing entry-level folks and hoping to move them up the line of your camera systems is basic marketing, which is why this camera is so confusing to me. In 2013, Canon launched the PowerShot N, and our headline was this: not only does the new Canon V10 resemble the PowerShot N, but that headline could be used for this camera and pretty much any vlogging camera today. The problem is, this camera's not bridging a gap. Now, before I held this camera in my hand, I completely wrote it off. It looked like a Flip Ultra HD wannabe mixed with maybe a Game Boy, and well, now that I have it in my hand, there's a little bit more to the story than that. Let's go see some chickens. The V10 has a 20.9 megapixel 1-inch type CMOS sensor that can film 4K at 30 frames per second. It has a fixed 19mm lens that provides a 97.5 degree field of view. There's a built-in ND filter, and the ISO ranges from 125 up to 6400 in video mode, and all the way up to 12,800 in photo mode. At just under half a pound, or 211 grams, the V10 is incredibly fun to use. The problem is, the footage is super hit or miss. There are times when the contrast levels are great, and the shadows are deep black, and then other times when the camera simply would not focus. Am I even in focus? Hello? Or was way too jittery to use, even with the digital image stabilization on enhanced. The bigger problem though, I could not keep this lens smudge-free. Oh my god, it's so dirty. The heck? And then there are more annoying problems, like in order to get to the video settings menu, you have to be in the video mode, or the fact that the screen has to be turned out in order to get the kickstand back in. All of these nuisances add up to solidify the fact that this is a first-gen product that needs a lot of fine-tuning. They also make using the V10 feel like using a toy. I mean, it's like super plasticky, it's got a small screen with huge bezels, and it's incredibly limited in what it can do. So, hot take. If the footage from the V10 was actually worse, or maybe it had like a vintage preset that added a timestamp and like a videotape look, I think that the feel of using this camera would then better match the footage it output. Sweet. And there might actually be an audience for that. But I don't think that you could charge $430 for it, and I really don't think Canon should spend the time or money making a novelty camera. The one thing the V10 does have going for it in its current state is that in perfect light, it takes crisp, clear, pretty good looking photos. There is one thing that both of these cameras have in common though. A terrible app experience, with many users citing dropped connection or lack of being able to use the apps at all, and of course a 2.2 and 2.3 star rating on the App Store. I feel like a broken record, but how is it possible that camera companies such as Canon and Sony and even Nikon and Fuji cannot create a solid app that has even a decent UI that can take photos from a camera and move them to a phone? I mean, this is exactly the reason creators would much rather use their phone to create content. They're not gonna take their images to a computer, and they're certainly not gonna post from a computer. I mean, action cameras, they have been creating solid app experiences for years, and it is time that camera companies, especially if they're gonna make vlogging cameras or cameras for creators, like, get with it. Whew! That felt good to get off my chest. But like, I've said that before in many videos, so let's go. App experience aside, the ZV-1 Mark II and the V10 are a pretty perfect example of you get what you pay for. Both are certainly smaller, lighter, cheaper, and absolutely made to be held out in front of you. But for double the price, the ZV-1 Mark II is more reliable, takes better video more of the time, and packs more features that beginners will love. Though I do hope Canon keeps working this form factor and starts trickling down some specs from their higher end systems into something this size, because it's simply so fun to use. A few years ago, I laughed at the vlogging product category. It felt like a move for manufacturers to get amateur videographers to buy something. But now, as a creator myself, the ZV-1 Mark II is actually a very viable tool, especially when I need to be in front of the camera and I don't have a lot of turnaround time. So I just need something that can, set all the settings for me. But Canon, if you want to get in on this very viable market, you're gonna have to come up with something a lot better than this. Oh, but look at that view! Oh my god. Oh, protect this at all costs. Okay, come on. What are we doing? Look at this. What are we doing? Stunning. It's stunning. Look at that. Gorge.